Very much. It's a great honor to be here today. It's an honor to be representing the United Kingdom at this important naming ceremony. And on behalf of everyone in the United Kingdom and on behalf of John Major, I say thank you very much for this recognition of the important role of our former Prime Minister in the events of 30 years ago. When John Major sees the pictures of the street named after him, I know he will feel honored and humbled. But what he did was truly important for this part of the world. What Saddam Hussein did in response to the Kurdish uprising at the beginning of 1991 was truly awful. Millions of Kurds fled into the mountains, into Iran, into Turkey, into the mountains here. Many of them were living in appalling conditions, and all of a sudden they were all over the TV screens in the United Kingdom. The other person who was all over the TV screens in the United Kingdom was Safin himself, who was an exile in the UK and who did much to ensure that the British government was properly focused on the humanitarian crisis that was unfolding. And I would like to thank Safin, Minister, Head of the Department for Foreign Relations. I'd like to thank the Minister for Municipalities and the Governor of Erbil for their part in making this ceremony happen. So, there was a humanitarian crisis of major proportions that was taking place in March and April 1991. And the response of the British people was extraordinary. Hundreds of tons of food, medicines, blankets, other basic supplies were sent out by the major British NGOs to help the refugees. But it wasn't just the big NGOs, it was also ordinary people. I have a friend who, on his own initiative, hired a van, bought food, persuaded his friends to buy food, and filled the van, drove it all the way across Europe, all the way across Turkey, to provide these supplies to the refugees in the camps. And that was just the person I knew. There were many others who were doing similar things. But John Major himself, the Prime Minister, realized that something needed to be done, and he ensured that the British government took action. He, with government officials, devised the concept and even the name of the safe haven, which was a new idea in international relations. He persuaded the French President, François Mitterrand, and other European leaders that this must be done. He persuaded the US President, George Bush, that this needed to be done. And on his instructions, British officials took the resolution through the Security Council, which created the safe haven and provided the basis on which further action could be taken. And that further action took two parts from our point of view. First of all, the UK put troops on the ground, including some of our very finest forces, the 3rd Brigade of the Royal Marines, as part of an international force to protect what had become the Kurdistan region. And we also initiated and helped police the no-fly zone through aerial patrols. This was something done by the Royal Air Force over a number of years in the 1990s to ensure the safety of the Kurdistan region. And what this meant was, for the first time, Kurds in Iraq were able to have an autonomous homeland where they could develop and prosper without interference from Saddam's evil regime. And that has led to what we see today. The Kurdistan region has its problems, of course, but actually is in a pretty good state. I'd like once again to congratulate His Excellency, the Prime Minister, Mr. Masroor Barzani, the Deputy Prime Minister, Kubat Talabani, and all the others who were involved in negotiating the budget agreement with Baghdad. I know that there are many other things outstanding. There's the question of security cooperation, there's the question of the disputed territories and full implementation of the constitution. But what I see here in the Kurdistan region is a region with a very substantial degree of autonomy. I can't think of any other region which isn't itself a state in the world which has its own army, the Peshmerga. It has its own security agencies. The autonomy of the Kurdistan regional government is very substantial. So the Kurds are able to pursue their own destiny to a very significant extent. And that, of course, that is the story where we're at now, and that was made possible by the actions in 1991. Lastly, I'd say that the United Kingdom was then, in 1991, a friend of the Kurdish people here in the Kurdistan region. We are still strong friends of the Kurdistan region. I lead a large diplomatic mission here in the region, one of our largest consulates in the world, and it's larger than many embassies in countries around the world. And we are active here. We're active in supporting the push for reform of the Peshmerga. We are training some of the best Peshmerga officers. So it's been all over the news recently that the first female Peshmerga cadet has just graduated from the prestigious Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst, and I congratulate her for her achievement. There is a male cadet who will be graduating this summer from a slightly longer course, and there will be another female cadet going to our military academy at Sandhurst in the autumn. We have also been providing support and mentoring to the Kurdish judiciary to help them improve the way that they conduct judicial investigations so that they need rely less on confessions. And that program will be ongoing. We have a scholarship scheme designed to send the brightest and the best of the Kurds from this region to the United Kingdom to complete their studies by doing master's degrees at some of the best universities in the world. Each year we send 8 to 10. These are people who we hope will become leaders in the future back here in the Kurdistan region, and they are part of our investment in the future of the region. And lastly, it's not just the British government. I see many examples of British NGOs or ordinary people taking an interest in what is going on in the Kurdistan region, providing assistance, for example, to IDPs in the camps and other things. There's Amar International, there's Helsa Aid, which is a British Sikh organization. There are academic networks. There are many civil society links between the United Kingdom and the Kurdistan region, and I want to encourage and promote those. So let me end where I started. This sign, a tribute by the Kurdish authorities to Sir John Major, is a tribute to what Sir John Major did 30 years ago, which was instrumental in creating this region, but it also reminds us of the enduring friendship between the United Kingdom and this great region. So thank you very much.